Place your bets, you jackwagons. Brad the Big Noise Evans here. It is indeed another edition of the Fade 5 podcast, and I'm flying solo because it is Memorial Day, and please take a moment to reflect on those who sacrifice for our country and allow us to make wagers on Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So I said, well, when there's a Game 7, you got to get a podcast of all of your favorite wagers out to the masses. So it's exactly what I'm doing. No episode here on Tuesday. Lundy and I will be back in the saddle, however, on Friday. So let's get after it and have aboard the Honk Honk Plus Bus on this Monday edition of the Fade 5 podcast. And if you're unfamiliar with this segment, is my favorite wager a plus 100 or greater, regardless of sport. And tonight's selection is Matt Olson going against his former employer, the Oakland A's. I say he gets at least an RBI at plus 125. And by the way, I pulled this one from DraftKings Sportsbook. He homered not once, but twice on Sunday night. Spencer Strider and that fine mustache was doing some work, hitting the over as well on 8.5 punch-outs in that game. But Olson, a guy that typically hits home runs in bunches, and a guy usually gets a lot of hits in bunches, and I think the RBIs will come in as a result against right-handed pitching this season. He's got a 1013 OPS with 31 runs driven in. He has acquired and registered an RBI in 6 of his last 10 games. And it's going against Paul Blackburn, who makes his season debut for the Oakland Athletics. A guy last season there in front of a capacity crowd, I think it was 16 last year approximately on average. Now it's down into the single digits. He had an 8.31 home ERA in 2022. If you look at left-handed hitters, they hit 260 against him last season. That's not outstanding by any stretch of the imagination. But Blackburn did surrender a season ago a 40.5 hard hit percentage. So Ronald Acuna, get on base, and Matt Olson slap one into the gap and knock him in at plus money there again at DraftKings. So with that, bell the board. Let's get after it on this Memorial Day Monday with another edition of the Fade 5. All right, Numero Cinco on the countdown today. It's all Game 7 all the time. Every single one of these wagers in today's Fade 5 will feature some action in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. It could be history. That is written by the Boston Celtics. Could be the first team out of 153 opportunities to win in Game 7 after being down 3-0. And, of course, they're playing this in the Garden. And I think that's going to play a major factor, feeding off that crowd energy and really having the upper hand in terms of momentum here in this series. But how about meet me in the middle on this parlay? And I think this one has got a really good shot of hitting. I'm going to do an SGP. I'm going to take the Celtics on the money line, and then I'm going to pair that with Miami at plus 12.5 on the alt spread. So in other words, will the Celtics win by 1 to a dozen points? I think it's exactly where it's going to land, somewhere within that range, plus 138. There at BetMGM. You look at Boston in terms of net efficiency rating. They have now overtaken Miami last couple of games in terms of number 2 of that standing. Of course, the Denver Nuggets are number 1 overall by a hefty and sizable margin, even over Boston in that recent hot streak. But the Celtics, one of the most efficient offensive teams this NBA postseason, number 2 in adjusted offensive efficiency. They're really firing on all cylinders right now. Maybe not so much defensively, but from outside, second chance opportunities, both attached to Derek White. We saw that last game, and the unbelievable finish of Game 6 there on South Beach. I think Miami, though, is going to, show some huevos. They're not going to fold easily. They're not going to crumble and just, move off to the side, sweat-free for Boston. This game is going to be tight. This game comes down maybe to the waning moments. So ultimately, I believe the C's pull the W, and Miami somehow keeps this close. So they're not going to get blown out in this one. Boston on the money line, Miami plus 12.5 on that SGP. A cool plus 138 at BetMGM. Numero Quattro here on the Fade 5. Back to the Eastern Conference Finals. And let's do a singular bet, shall we, on the Butler did it. And he's going to do exactly that in steals and blocks. And I think Jimmy Butler's going to hit the over at 2.5 on that combined combo category. And that's even money. Some people just learned that. Plus 100 at BetMGM. And I know it's all about Jimmy Buckets, but he's consistently getting steals. And he's registered at least one block, a couple of games in this series. Now, the steal portion, he's good for at least one. And honestly, he could hit the over in this because he's already done it a couple of times in steals alone. But Butler is going to rise to the occasion. He's not going to fall by the wayside without putting up a fight. And those Dukes are going to be working and throwing some haymakers on occasion defensively. As my esteemed colleague, Alive Line, Cam Smith calls it a hustle stat. And that's what both these are. So I think Jimmy Butler gets at least one steal. It's probably going to be two. Could be as many as three. The key here is a block shot. Even if he doesn't get a block, again, he could do this with 3 swipes. So show those kleptomaniac hands. Reject one into the very expensive seats there in the secondary market in the first couple of rows. Either way, just get to trace me, amigo. And if you hit that, plus 100. Again, that even money at BetMGM. Moving on, numero trace here on the countdown today. Let's go to Tatum, the superstar of the Boston Celtics, and the guy that I trust most, obviously, on this team, with the exception of one other player we're going to mention here a little bit later on. But give me Tatum, who is a point forward du jour, and as a result, I think he's going to do some damage and assists and rebounds, and I'm taking the over. 16.5 at minus 115 at DraftKings. You see what Tatum has done in this series. He went 8, 21, and 12. The first 3 losses out of the gate, and then the last 3 wins, 17 combined, 19 combined, and 17 combined. And there is a reason why Boston is right now playing, for a spot in the history books, is because Tatum is really excelling on both ends of the floor, not only sealing off the defensive glass, getting some second chance opportunities at the offensive end, but also operating as a premier distributor as he drives that kick out game to Derek White, to Marcus Smart, maybe even Grant Williams, and the 3-ball going up. It's good. It's good. And that's an assist in the box score for Tatum. So I think he's going to get, at least 5 times, maybe 6. That's why the line is sitting at 5.5 assists right now, and the juice is heavy on the over. And the rebounds, always a threat as well. They get 10 or more. So, maybe we get like 5 assists. Maybe we get 11 rebounds, something along that line. 11 and 5, that is 16. That's just short. So give me one more in either category, Jayson Tatum, because you're going to bring your A game tonight. I practically guarantee it. So as a result, he's going to hit the over. 16.5 assists, rebounds, minus 115 at DraftKings. He's done this in 4 of his last 6 games. And though Miami is the 8th fewest opponent rebounds per game and 4th fewest assists per game, Tatum slams it home. Moving on here, Numero Uno on the Fade 5 solo edition. Let's go back to the SGP market, and I'm going to play some team total points. And these are alt lines. I think Boston's going to score at least 100, and I believe Miami is going to get to at least 95 points. Both those events occur. You're looking at minus 110 there at BetMGM. You look in this series, Boston's gone $116, 105, 102, 116, 110, 104. So they've easily eclipsed the over in all 6. And Miami is a team that, is usually in the high 90s, except early on in this series, they sailed past 100 and the 95 points needed total. So this one may come down to the final moments. But as I believe, Miami, they're a pugilistic team. They are fighters, and they are going to swing, and they're going to lay some haymakers on occasion. I don't think they're going to go quietly into the night by any stretch of the imagination. They're going to be highly competitive. They're going to bring their best game because the pressure is most certainly on. They don't want to be the team that was victimized in the history books. they would like to win and advance on to face the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals. So, again, have a towel ready, have a box of tissue ready, not for that purpose, but to pat down the brow, bro, because this one's going to be tight. Not on the Boston side, but Miami. Will they get to 95 or more points? I say yes, they do. And if both those teams reach those thresholds, again, pretty low juice there, minus 110 at BetMGM, entirely doable. Numero Uno here on the Fade 5 edition of the podcast. That's what the podcast is called. The edition is Memorial Day. The edition 2 is Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Give me Derek White, the hero of Game 6, with that tip in at the buzzer, getting it through the cylinder before the illuminated backboard really lit up. And it was no-brainer, really shocked everybody in attendance. Block him out, Max Strus. You didn't do it. He got owed on that play, and as a result, could lead to your demise. But I think Derek White's hitting at least 3 triples tonight. So give it the over. 2.5 main threes, minus 115 at FanDuel. The fact is, low minus odds is astounding to me. I honestly thought this would be like minus 130 at a minimum, maybe as high as like minus 150, but hey, look at what White has done this series. Very consistent. 3 threes, 6 threes, and then 3 threes. So he has gotten over this in every single game, averaging 6.3 jacks from outside per contest and netting a mind-blowing 55.3% on those 3-point opportunities. If you stretch out what he has done in this postseason, he's hit the over in 7 of his last 8 games. Miami has given up the 8th fewest 3-pointers made, 12.5 per game, and just 33.2% from outside here in the postseason. But, you look at Derek White, a guy that's going to jack several of these. And again, the home rims, the environment, feeding off that energy is going to give him the necessary boost on the jumper. And he's got to knock down at least 3 triples. So that is my numero uno top taco play today on the Feed 5 podcast. Derek White, over 2.5 made threes, minus 115 at FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, before we get out of here, bonus time. I got some additional action here in the Eastern Conference Finals, and it's Team Huevos style. So let's do the Team Huevos Parlay Play of the day, and I absolutely love this one. Give me Caleb Martin, 2 or more made threes. Give me Derek White, 2 or more made threes. Again, I'm taking the over on 2.5. Give me Max Tosta Struso plus 1 3. And Jimmy Butler, I need a steal. That's it. He's done every single game in this series. And look at that. Oh, yeah, work those shoulders and get seduced by the juice at plus 160 at DraftKings Sportsbook. Caleb Martin's been quite the revelation. The former member of the Nevada Wolfpack has really stepped up his game. He has hit 2 or more threes in all 6 games in this series, shooting 46.2% from way downtown. You look at White, I already mentioned it, a guy that's shooting over 55% along the arc. And then elsewhere, Max Strus, he's gotten at least 1 3 in every single game in this series. And I think this one's going to hit very early on for him. He's kind of taking a step back a little bit, shooting right around 34% overall from distance. But I just need one to splash through the cylinder, and then Jimmy Butler to get that 1 steal, which he has done in every single game. Again, I like the over on 2.5 blocks and steals. And as I mentioned before, he could do that in steals alone. So to pull it together, Caleb Martin, 2 more made threes. Derek White, 2 or more made threes. Max Strus, 1 or more made threes. And Jimmy Butler, a steal. 1 swipe of the hand, 1 slap of the leather away from an opponent. And you look at that, a cool plus 160 available at DraftKings. Love this Team Huevos play of today. Elsewhere, Team Huevos style again, parlay play numero dos. I'm going to go with the Superstar Throwdown parlay play, and it's all about Jimmy Buckets all the time. a guy that is going to have to carry this team on his back. And as a result, I think he's hitting the threshold of every single one of these categories. Give me 20 plus points from Jimmy Butler. Give me 5 or more rebounds. Give me 5 or more assists. Give me that steal. Give me that block shot. And give me 1 made 3 to see that plus 400. Take my money, bet MGM. On that parlay play. Butler has done this just once. All these thresholds in a game in this series, and he did that back in game 4. He had 29 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 1, 1, and 1. A steal, a block, and a 3. Just repeat the feat, bro. That's all I'm asking. And I think it's entirely doable because he has to put everything on the line for Miami to march on. He's averaging 24.2 points per game in this series, 7.7 boards per game, 6.2 assists per game, 2.5 steals per game. And this is where it gets a little dicey. And you're maybe going to have to sweat this sucker out. Is that block shot? He's averaging a half a block per game in this series. Again, he's only gotten 1 block shot in 2 games in this series. And he's only gotten 1 made 3 in a couple of games as well, shooting just 31.3% from distance. So Jimmy Butler, 20 plus points, 5 plus rebounds, 5 plus assists, a steal, a block, and a 3. Please, Jimmy, be a juggernaut tonight in Beantown. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. I love this parlay as well at plus 400 at BetMGM. All right, elsewhere, let's go to Major League Baseball, shall we? And a couple of parlays that I do like. Let's go with earned runs. And if you're listening to this podcast early, this is one of the earlier games today, several day games today on the holiday. I love Matthew Boyd on the over 2.5 earned runs against the Texas Rangers, one of the most prolific offensive teams, especially with the first 5 innings in Major League Baseball. And Texas has been smashing lefties this year. The Rangers hitting a robust 292 with an 825 OPS against Southpaws, which Boyd is. And you look at Boyd, he's given up at least 3 earned in 4 of his last 7 starts. He's got a disgusting 5.74 ERA on the year. Walks a lot of guys, too. 3.83 walks per 9. That's not a strength of the Texas Rangers, a team that freely swings and often misses. But maybe they'll get a couple of free passes issued there by Boyd. And you look at the xFIP, Boyd at 5.14 says, hey, man, he hasn't benefited from good luck. He's been just as bad. So, front and center in my mind, the Rangers going to get out to a hot start. As a result, I love Matthew Boyd over 2.5 earned runs, just minus 105 at DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, I am out of time here on this edition of the Fade 5 podcast. Again, Nathaniel London will be back with me on Friday. We are off on Tuesday. With a brand new edition of the pod. We'll be breaking down the entire Major League Baseball slate. And I think the NBA Finals will finally be underway at that juncture. So we'll have some picks in game 1, game 2, whatever it is, in that series between the Nuggets and Celtics, maybe, or Nuggets and Heat. We'll find out tonight in B-Town. Enjoy your Memorial Day. Enjoy the beers, the burgers, all the buffoonery that's associated with the barbecues that are out there. Enjoy as well Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. For Nathaniel Lundy, who's not here, though he is in spirit, I'm Brad Evans. Until next time, as always, feed or follow. That is up to you.